Hello world, it's about midday 30, it's Sunday the 17th of July 2016. The world's a very different place since I last did a video a few days ago. It's difficult to keep up with so many things going on, both the almost routine mundane things such as the Australian general election, the coming American election, the recent political turmoil in the UK. That's almost inconsequential compared to some of the other things that's going on. I'm hesitant to ascribe any of recent events of the world purely down to astrology, but there are astrological correlations. I've done my research on this. Please feel free to check it out. A few nights ago, there was another tragedy in France, in Nice. Now, on the one hand, I'm just going to spend 5 seconds on my own showboat because, about a week before, 250 people died in a bomb blast in Baghdad, and it got a paragraph in the newspapers and maybe a sentence or two on the television. Whereas the Nice disaster, where 84, 85 people died, became a global tragedy. And that is Western perspective for you. Having said that, at the moment that the Nice outrage happened, fractionally after 11 p.m. local time, the moon in the sky was precisely conjunct Mars to within 1 degree at 23 degrees of Scorpio. Since Mars has started moving forward in Scorpio, there's lots of situations coming up and being resolved. Within 24 hours, 36 hours of the Nice bomb outrage, there was an attempted military coup in Turkey 48 hours ago. And the astrology of that is fascinating. At that moment that the coup started, in the evening, a couple of nights ago, the Sun was at 24 Cancer, Mars was at 24 Scorpio, Uranus is at 24 Aries. That is a perfect 3-4-5 triangle. And in conjunction, a trine and a square. That's a right-angled triangle. On an aside, as many of you know, astrology is just what I do for a living. I'm actually well into geomancy, and I study a lot around landscape architecture. And it may interest many of you to know that amongst the ancient monk orders, the Franciscans, the Gregorians, the Cistercians, all of the ancient monk orders will wear a rope belt around their cassocks, and in that rope belt there are 13 knots, equally spaced. This is so that you can, with that piece of rope with 13 equally spaced knots in it, lay it in a triangular formation and get a 3-4-5 triangle, a right angle, which is the basis of all architecture. Just a little bit of aside there. The astrology doesn't say what will happen. It says what can happen in the future, not what will happen. But as a tool for looking back and understanding what has happened from using astrology to draw a referential term, then I can see clearly how the events of both Nice and Turkey are clearly represented in the astrology of the times. If I were to project those same patterns forward, it seems pretty clear to me, I keep saying this, but the worst isn't over yet. There's still worse to come. It's not long. 2016 is turning into an awful year for many people. But I still feel that there's a crunch point yet to come, and I can't help but finger the Mars-Saturn conjunction at the same day as the eclipse of the Sun on September the 1st, as well as the big T-square between the Sun, the Moon, Mars, Saturn and Neptune, all on that day. At the same time, Venus, Mercury and Jupiter are all together at 28-29 Virgo, just as Mercury goes retrograde and Venus and Jupiter move into Libra. So this period of the last 2 or 3 days of August and the first 3 or 4 days of September is critical. This is the start of a 3-week period of Mercury retrograde, which will continue until the equinox, September 21st, 22nd. And September's going to be, in many ways, a time of dealing with what happens between now and then. I don't think the world is going to return to some type of even keel or semblance of sanity, I'm afraid, until we get into late September, early October, at which point the emphasis will shift significantly. If people are determined to kill, they will kill. Whether they use poisons, aeroplanes crashing into towers, guns, lorries, tanks, doesn't matter. But the one thing that seems to be common is that people are killing in God's name. And that once again, religion. You can't ban religion. If you do, it will become subversive and go underground. You can close the churches and the mosques and the synagogues and just say to people, pray by all means, but pray in your own home. But that won't stop fundamentalism. Seems to me the only real option we've got to counteract fundamentalism and this stupidity of killing in God's name is to raise the levels of intelligence. I'm preaching to the converted here, because people who know me and study, those of you who study astrology, which is most of you who watch me, you're not into religion anyway, because you know that if you believe something, then you don't believe anything outside that belief. Whereas astrology encourages you to be open to all types of options and beliefs. Nothing is outside the limits of belief. It encourages you to develop your own free will and to choose what you believe, not to become a fundamentalist. So on this Sunday, the 17th, in the middle of July, didn't mean this to be a Sunday sermon, it's turned into one. I can only suggest that perhaps the one way to counteract this is to encourage astrology to be taught in schools. Not creationism, not fundamentalism, not religion. Teach astrology in schools. Within 2 generations, we'll see an end to warfare. There you go, world. Week ahead tomorrow. Bye.